Well, welcome everyone. I'm Don Davies, your NDP candidate for Parliament for Vancouver Kingsway. We're gathered today on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. This acknowledgement recognizes the historical presence and ongoing relationship of these Indigenous peoples with the land and waters. I'm so pleased to welcome you all today to the beautiful riding of Vancouver Kingsway. Right now, people in Vancouver are feeling squeezed by rising costs, Donald Trump's trade war, and by a government that doesn't always have your back. But this country was built by people who knew that if they believed in something better and fought for it, that they could succeed in making a better life for themselves and their families. And to New Democrats, there is nothing more important than families' health. I'd now like to introduce Jean, who will share her story about being able to access the NDP dental plan program.
Thanks so much, Jean.
My name is Jean Pemberton. I came to Canada 60 plus years ago. And from the time I came, got married, I had the luxury of dental plan, the whole works through my husband. Then he passed away, and I was told I had it no more. And just last year, when the NDP, because I read all of Don's papers that comes to the door, and that they were working on this plan. It was a great thing, and I applied. It was so easy. I got my card, and a couple of months ago, I went to the dentist. It was like a piece of cake. And I think it is so great for families, because we have lots of families that, you know, kids, no dental plan. So I think this is the greatest thing. And for us seniors, hey, yeah, we thank you. Thank you.
So much. Thank you.
Okay.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jean. That's awesome.
Thank you, Jean, for sharing your story with us. We're proud of the work that we did to get dental care for you and for millions of people across this country. For New Democrats, dental care is primary health care, and we think that everyone deserves to get dental care with their health card, not their credit card, and that everyone deserves a healthy smile. And folks in British Columbia know that the best way to fight for working and middle-class families is to send New Democrats to Ottawa. Now, I'm pleased to introduce the one leader who fights for working people, not the CEOs. The one leader who will fight for things that people care about and need, the things that make Canada, Canada. Please welcome NDP leader Jagmeet Singh to the podium.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Don. And Jean, thanks again for sharing your story. It really matters. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Don. Don, as you can tell, this is the quality of member of parliament you get when you vote for a New Democrat. Don was instrumental in all the New Democrats together. We fought hard. As leader, I fought hard, but Don was instrumental in getting pharmacare and dental care over the finish line. So I'm always eternally grateful for all his great work. Thank you, Don. Friends, we just saw recently that Pierre Poilievre released his platform. He laid out his plan, and not surprisingly, it includes massive cuts. He's cutting, and that's what we expect of conservatives. That's what they do. They cut healthcare, they cut services, and that's what his plan is proposing again, to have massive cuts. And Canadians are worried about that. Canadians are looking at that and saying, you know what? I think that's a bad idea to cut services right now, to cut healthcare right now. That's bad for me. That's bad for my family. It's bad for our country. And so more and more Canadians are rejecting conservatives. But what is surprising is that Mark Carney also laid out a lot of cuts in his platform. His platform includes $28 billion in cuts. He has said before many times that he would cut in the operating budget. He's defined the operating budget, said that includes transfers to health, transfers to provinces, transfers to individuals, So he's also proposing massive cuts. Another thing we noted in Pierre Poilievre's platform is he's spending $19 billion on a tax giveaway for Canadians who mostly earn over $1 million. I think that's a really bad expenditure of money, bad priority. Surprisingly, Mark Carney actually has the exact same expense in his budget, in his platform. He's budgeted for also spending $19 billion for mostly Canadians who earn over $1 million. You know, both of them, I think, don't have the right priorities when it comes to spending that type of money on millionaires and then proposing massive cuts for you and your family. I think that's the wrong priority. We also heard Mark Carney recently say that healthcare should not be business. It's not a business. I agree. Now, like most liberals do, they say the right things, and I acknowledge it's a great thing. This is something the New Democrats have long believed in. We fought to say, no, healthcare should not be a business. And so Mark Carney said that. But he's done the opposite in terms of his own career. Just a couple months ago, he was the chair of Brookfield Investments, and Brookfield Investments bought Healthscope, a for-profit hospital in Australia. They made massive returns on that investment for their investors. They cut services, they cut quality of care. It was so bad for patient care that Australia had to pass a state law to ban that practice from happening ever again. That's how bad it was. So Canadians are now wondering, well, how can I trust what Mr. Carney is saying? If he says health should not be a business, but just a couple months ago actually invested in it being a business, actually bought a company that was a for-profit hospital. How can we trust him to actually follow up those words? I think Canadians are saying, well, maybe we can't. And in the face of the real threat of privatization, we've seen Donald Trump and American billionaires trying to circle around Canada thinking there's more money to be made here. They want to buy up our Canadian health facilities. They want to jack up prices, make more profits. And so can we trust Mark Carney to fight back against that? We saw that the Liberals didn't really stand up to the privatization that we saw under Daniel Smith in Alberta, and the threats of more and more private care that we're seeing in Ontario with Doug Ford. So the Liberals haven't really shown a strong track record of wanting to stand up. But who can you trust if you want to fight back against these cuts, if you want to defend our public healthcare system, if you want to keep it public and universal? Well, you can trust New Democrats. We got your back. We're in it for you. We're going to fight to defend it. And British Columbians, I'm going to specifically talk to you right now. Here in BC, you have an incredibly important role to play in this election. You can make the difference between Mark Carney getting a supermajority or sending enough New Democrats to Ottawa so we can fight to defend the things you care about. You have the power in this election to use that power to vote for New Democrats to say, no, I don't want to see cuts to healthcare. I don't want to see cuts to services. And I certainly don't want to see private care come into this country. So if you believe in defending our universal health care, if you want someone that's going to fight back against privatization and the cuts proposed by both Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, vote for a New Democrat. Here in BC, your vote really matters. You can really make a difference between having that line of defense, that line in the sand saying New Democrats will never let this happen, or letting Mark Carney have a supermajority. That's the choice that British Columbians will make. And I'm hopeful that you will send more New Democrats back, re-elect New Democrats like Don Davies here in this riding of Vancouver Kingsway, and elect more New Democrats so that we can fight for you in Ottawa and deliver. Like Jean mentioned, we deliver, we get things done. Donc, on vient de voir Pierre Poilievre qui a dévoilé son plateforme électorale. Dans son plateforme, il propose des coupures massives, des coupures en santé, des coupures dans les services. Ça, c'est normal. C'est ce qu'il a dit depuis longtemps et ce que les conservateurs font tout le temps. Donc, ce n'est pas surprenant. Mais surprenant, le fait que Mark Carney et les libéraux proposent aussi des coupures massives. Ils proposent des coupures de 28 milliards de dollars. 28 milliards de dollars de coupures. Et il a dit qu'il va couper dans le budget d'opération. Il a défini le budget comme des transferts en santé, transferts aux individus. Donc, il propose des coupures massives. En même temps, Pierre Poilievre propose de dépenser 19 milliards de dollars pour donner une coupure d'impôt pour les millionnaires, Mark Carney aussi propose ça dans son plateforme électorale. Il propose aussi des coupures d'impôts pour les millionnaires en dépensant 19 milliards de dollars. Je pense que ce sont des mauvaises priorités. En fait, récemment, Mark Carney a dit que les soins de santé, ce n'est pas une entreprise. Je suis d'accord. Les néo-démocrates sont d'accord. C'est quelque chose qu'on s'est battu depuis longtemps de dire que non, on ne doit pas avoir les profits dans les soins de santé. Ce n'est pas une entreprise, c'est un soin pour les gens. Mais souvent, les libéraux donnent des bonnes paroles, mais ils font le contraire. Et dans ce cas, c'est un autre exemple. Mark Carney a dit la bonne chose, mais quand il était président de Brookfield Investments, il y a quelques mois, son entreprise a acheté une entreprise, un hôpital privé, Healthscope, en Australie. Ils ont gagné des profits massifs. Ils ont offert des mauvaises conditions de travail. Ils ont offert des mauvaises conditions de soins pour les patients. Et c'était assez pire que l'Australie a dû mettre en œuvre une loi pour interdire ce sorte des hôpitaux dans le futur. Donc, est-ce qu'on peut croire vraiment, M. Carney, quand il dit que les soins de santé, ce n'est pas une entreprise, quand il a fait l'opposé il y a quelques mois? Est-ce qu'on peut croire, Mark Carney, qu'il va défendre notre système de santé publique? Je pense que la réponse est non. Donc, si vous voulez quelqu'un qui va défendre notre système de santé, qui va livrer les marchandises, comme Jean vient de dire qu'on a livré les soins dentaires, vous pouvez voter pour l'NPD. Vous avez le pouvoir de voter pour l'NPD pour défendre notre système de santé, pour défendre contre la privatisation. Donc, vous avez le pouvoir d'envoyer les néo-démocrates à Ottawa pour défendre ce qui est cher à vous. Merci. And with that, I'm ready for any questions you might have.
Thank you. We'll start with questions in the room. We'll do one question, one follow-up. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News.
Hi, Mr. Singh. The Conservatives have released their platform today, and specifically in it, they say that they will keep the dental care plan as it exists right now, as well as the deals to bring in those certain medications for pharmacare, the deals with the provinces. So why should Canadians be voting for you if these programs will continue to exist without New Democrats?
Do Canadians honestly believe Pierre Poilievre will keep these programs? I mean, if you just, not to go back too far, he voted against dental care, he voted against pharmacare. When asked, he said dental care doesn't exist. He said pharmacare doesn't exist. He says these things aren't working, that they're not being delivered. He's fought against them, he's opposed them, and now we're to believe that he's somehow going to defend them? I mean, I think people know what Conservatives do. And if someone tells you they're against something, they vote against something, they oppose something, they criticize it, and now on the eve of an election they tell you that, oh, they're going to keep it, Canadians know better. They know that that's not true. But what is, I think, more surprising is the fact that Mark Carney, when people take a closer look, is also proposing these massive cuts. And so for people in BC, I want you to know, you've got the power to stop one party from having all the power. You've got the power here in BC to say, you know what, we're not going to give Mark Carney all the power. We're not going to give the Liberals all the power. We're going to elect New Democrats to stand up and fight for us. BC, you've got that power. You've got the ability to make that difference. And in this election, if you use that power, you can send folks like Don, you can send folks, other New Democrats who are going to fight to defend what you believe in, what you hold dear. Yeah. Est-ce qu'on va vraiment croire que Pierre Poilievre va garder des soins dentaires, les autres soins? Non, parce qu'il a voté contre ces mesures dans le passé. Il a voté contre les soins dentaires, il a voté contre la science médicaments, il a critiqué ces programmes, il a dit que ces programmes ne fonctionnent pas, il dit que ça n'existe pas, malgré le fait qu'on a eu la preuve que les gens ont reçu cette aide. Il a dit que non, ces programmes n'existent pas. Donc, ce n'est pas quelqu'un qu'on peut croire qui va vraiment garder des choses qu'il a dit, il a critiqué, il a voté contre dans le passé. Donc, je pense que c'est clair, c'est ce que les conservateurs font, ils vont couper. Mais ce qui est surprenant, c'est le fait que Mark Carney aussi propose des coupures. Donc, mon message ici à Colombie-Britannique, pour les francophiles, les francophones en Colombie-Britannique, vous avez le pouvoir d'arrêter quand un parti a tout le pouvoir. Vous pouvez envoyer des néo-démocrates pour défendre ce qui est cher à vous.
Last night and today, you called on NDP supporters to elect New Democrats, in your words, to hold the line in Parliament. Last night, former NDP MP Libby Davies talked about the 90s, where she said that the party had lost official party status, and said that, people who are knocking on doors should bring that message of the importance of having that party status. So how confident are you at this point that the NDP can return to Parliament with at least the same number of seats you left with?
Well, I'm confident Canadians have seen the difference that we've made. Jean's story is really powerful. I want folks to know that that's who we're fighting for. And Jean said how amazing it was for her bill to go in and get dental care. That only happened because British Columbians voted for New Democrats and sent us to Ottawa. All the things that we have in this country that we're proud of, our health care, our pensions, our old age security, even our employment insurance, these all came about when Canadians voted for New Democrats. You put your trust in us, and we delivered. And because you put your trust in me and Don and our fellow New Democrats, we were able to deliver dental care, the first steps of pharmacare, anti-scab legislation, protections for workers, 10 paid sick days, childcare. These are things New Democrats delivered. And so in this election, I think there's a really crucial election. And Canadians have really that important choice. Do you want someone that's on your side, not on the CEOs or the billionaire side? Do you want someone that's going to fight to defend what you hold dear, like your health care and these programs that we have fought for and delivered? If you want to defend them and expand them, New Democrats are the only party you can count on.
Rachel Aiello, CTV News.
Good morning, Mr. Singh. With all due respect, you didn't answer my colleague's question. You were talking last night about needing to have enough NDP MPs to hold the line. Is that where your campaign is at right now, that you are facing down potentially losing official party status?
We want Canadians to know what's at stake. And so we want Canadians to know who's really going to hold the line for you. Who's going to really stand up against the threats that Donald Trump presents, the threats against our healthcare system, the threats against who we are as a country. When people talk about wanting to fight back against Donald Trump, they say we're never going to be the 51st state. One of the first things that people say is because we've got healthcare. We take care of each other. We believe in looking out for our neighbor. And who fought to bring in healthcare? Who fought to defend it at every step? Who fought to expand it? That's New Democrats. So we're saying if you want someone that's going to hold the line on the things that you hold dear, the things that you believe in, the things that you care about, like a universal public health care, like dental care that's there for you, expanding pharmacare. The only party that's going to do that is New Democrats. And you've got a choice in this election. You've got the power to send us to Ottawa to hold the line for you, to defend what you care about.
When the Liberal Party was having a conversation about being in a position of potentially needing to save the furniture, there was a push to change the leader. If your party fails to secure official party status or even loses some of the seats you hold now, will you resign?
I'm not looking to after the election right now. I'm focused on the election in front of me. And right now we've got 7 more days. We're going to fight hard for people. We're going to fight hard for folks to know that you've got the power to send us to Ottawa to continue to fight for you. It's been the honor of my life to be able to deliver things like dental care, helping millions of Canadians, seniors and kids. Next month it's going to expand to include all adults that earn less than $90,000. To make sure that happens, to make sure people get care, you need New Democrats there. Sadly, we know, history has shown us, the Liberals, when in power, often forget about people. And they don't act unless forced to do so, unless pushed to do so. And the only party that can push them to deliver what you need, what your family needs, is New Democrats. You have the power to make that happen.
David Thurton, CBC News.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Good morning.
Morning.
You're talking about holding the line last night, now this morning. Does this mean that essentially you see the only opportunity for the NDP to maintain its status quo, to protect its existing seats, and you're not really thinking about growing the party in this election? Have you ruled that out?
I think folks have misunderstood holding the line. We've said hold the line against the cuts, hold the line against the attacks on our system. Who's going to hold the line to defend what people care about? That's what we mean by hold the line. And for folks out there who are worried about attacks on healthcare, worried about privatization, we've seen more and more private care creep into our country. We're pointing out that while Mark Carney says that healthcare shouldn't be a business, just a couple months ago, it was a business for him. It literally was a business. So he's saying one thing today, or recently, yesterday. He's saying one thing in this election. But a couple months ago, he did the opposite. He made healthcare a business. He bought HealthScope as the chair of Brookfield Investments, and they profited off of healthcare. And it was so bad that Australia had to pass a law to ban it from happening again. That's how bad it was. So if you want someone to hold the line on universal public health care, if you want someone to hold the line against private delivery of care, then vote for New Democrats, because we're going to fight for you and hold that line and defend what you care about. That's what New Democrats are going to do.
Okay, if I may, can I ask a question of Mr. Davies?
Of course, this is a skilled parliamentarian and former Teamster lawyer. You can definitely ask him.
Hey, Mr. Davies, good morning.
Good morning, David.
We are hearing from some of the NDP candidates on Vancouver Island, also here in Metro Vancouver. They keep raising the issue of strategic voting. And usually strategic voting has worked against New Democrats, but it seems in this election, the party, some candidates, are using it to their advantage. Are you using strategic voting to your advantage in this election, or trying to use it?
Well, here in Vancouver Kingsway, and I think I speak for New Democrat incumbents across the country, the strategic choice is New Democrat MPs. You know, for progressives who want to stop Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives from taking power, which I think is most progressives, that means choosing the best prospect for doing that. And in Vancouver Kingsway, we know we've done it for the last 5 elections. The best strategic choice is New Democrat. But it's also about values. I mean, when we're talking to people on the doorstep, it's not just about strategy. It's about who will defend the values that are important to people in Vancouver Kingsway, who will fight for things like affordable housing, as Jagmeet has said, for public health care, not only to protect it, but to improve it and expand it. Who's going to fight to make sure there's good jobs and protect the interests of working people and the middle class? Who's going to fight for the climate, Indigenous rights, equality, the whole progressive agenda? And what we're finding on the doorstep is that progressive voters not only want to send New Democrats to Parliament because that's the way to beat Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives in their riding, it's also to defend and advance the values that they hold dear.
Juliane Lapointe, Radio-Canada.
Try that en français, Mr. Davies? Non, votre candidat.
Il ne parle pas français.
Moi, je pense qu'il est capable. You can try.
Oui.
I know you can.
Vous voulez dire
I
ça en
know you
français?
can. It can be short.
Zut alors.
Oui, vous l'avez
Zut alors.
déjà montré.
Ici, à Vancouver Kingsway, je pense que le candidat stratégique est le NPD. Et parce que les gens à Vancouver Kingsway et les autres circonscriptions représentées par députés de NPD, le choix stratégique sans NPD. Aussi, je pense que les enjeux que les personnes, c'est important de les Canadiens et Canadiens et à progressif, Jean, et mieux représentés par le NPD député.
Wow. I gotta apologize formally. Sorry, I apologize. Don can speak French. Je m'excuse. Wow, I misunderstood that. You knew better than me. Wow.
French every time, right?
Wow.
You just proved on national television you're able to do it.
Yeah.
Petit gars à Vancouver Kingsway.
Ouais.
Wow.
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh, Juliane Lapointe de Radio-Canada. Pierre Poilievre qui a dévoilé son cadre financier aujourd'hui. Vous avez parlé du fait qu'il coupe dans les dépenses, mais moi, je veux vous entendre sur les moyens qu'il présente pour aller chercher des revenus. On a des chiffres ici qui nous ont présentés, comme par exemple les conservateurs qui pensent pouvoir aller chercher 27 milliards de dollars en revenus sur 4 ans liés à l'abolition de certaines mesures environnementales. Okay? Là, on parle, par exemple, en mettant fin à la taxe carbone, tout ce qui est environnemental, on pense aller chercher 27 milliards de dollars. Avec des coupes dans la fonction publique, on pense pouvoir aller chercher 4 milliards sur 4 ans. Avec des coupures en aide environnementale, 10 milliards sur 4 ans qui seraient coupés en aide environnementale. Bon. Bref, beaucoup de chiffres qui nous sont présentés aujourd'hui. Est-ce que vous avez eu le temps de regarder ces chiffres-là et qu'est-ce que vous faites de ces chiffres-là quand on pense à certaines mesures qui peuvent avoir l'air un peu abstraites?
Oui.
Avec ces chiffres qui sont présentés, au-delà de la coupure des dépenses, qu'est-ce que vous pensez des revenus qu'ils pourraient aller chercher? Est-ce que ce sont des chiffres qui vous semblent possibles?
Non, pas du tout. Il présente des chiffres qui n'ont aucune base dans la réalité. Donc, il propose des coupures massives et il pense de gagner des revenus qui ne sont pas là. Il a aussi dit que, et je suis d'accord, de couper l'utilisation des consultants privés. C'est quelque chose qu'on appuie. Mais le bilan des conservateurs, c'est qu'ils ont utilisé massivement les consultants privés. Les libéraux aussi ont utilisé les consultants privés. Le chiffre que j'ai vu, c'est 300 millions de dollars. C'est un chiffre important. Il dit que c'est dans les milliards de dollars. Donc, ces chiffres, je ne pense pas sont basés dans la réalité. Mais au-delà de ça, ce qu'il propose, c'est des coupures massives. Coupures en santé, coupures en environnement, coupures pour les choses qui représentent nos valeurs. Et les Canadiens veulent défendre notre environnement. On va avoir des protections en place pour défendre l'eau et l'air et nos terrains, la terre. Et il propose de laisser les grands pollueurs polluer autant qu'ils veulent. Ce n'est pas les valeurs canadiennes. Il propose des choses qui vont empirer les choses dans notre pays. Donc, ça, c'est pourquoi je pense que de plus en plus les gens rejettent l'approche de conservateur, l'approche de Pierre Poilievre. Mais en même temps, les gens ont des inquiétudes par rapport à Mark Carney aussi. Et ces coupures, ça, c'est pourquoi on présente encore l'option de voter pour l'NPD. On est le seul parti qui va défendre ce qui est cher à vous, comme nos soins de santé publique et universels, comme les mesures, comme les soins dentaires et l'assurance médicaments, et on est le seul parti qui va les accroître. The conservative math is not mathing. No. If you look at what they're proposing, the numbers are not based in any reality. They're making stuff up, saying they can get massive amounts of revenue off of things that don't make any sense. One example I can give you concretely is the use of private consultants. This is something that I agree. We've got to stop using private consultants, absolutely. But the Liberals and the Conservatives both have a track record of massively using private consultants. Now, the number that I've seen that's been verified by some independent sources is in the $300 million range, which is still massive. It's a lot of money. He's claiming that's in the tens of billions of dollars. And so I don't know where he's coming up with his numbers. They don't seem to be based in reality, and he's kind of making things up. Not surprising for Pierre Poilievre. For folks who know him, he's had a very tenuous relationship with the truth. And so this is not surprising that his platform echoes his values. But more importantly, his plan to cut things like our environmental protections. Canadians want to protect our environment. We love, here in BC, we love the air and the water and the land around us. We love it and want to protect it. We don't want to let big polluters pollute as much as they want with no limit and no protections in place. That's wrong. And I think that's why Canadians are rejecting Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. But that's why I mentioned people are worried, though, about Mark Carney and his cuts as well. They're worried about the fact that he's proposing massive cuts, like $28 billion in cuts. People are worried about that. Like, where is that going to come from? He's going to cut our health care, our pensions, our old age security. Because in his own words, all those things are on the table. And so for folks who are worried about that, you've got a choice. You've got the power to vote for New Democrats, send us back to Ottawa, and we'll fight to defend what you care about.
Quand vous rencontrez des gens dans la rue, comme Jean, par exemple, les gens vont vous dire « Je veux des mesures pour le logement abordable, je veux des mesures pour ma santé ». Pourquoi vous ne suivez pas l'exemple des Canadiens en demandant, vous, le statut de parti officiel? Est-ce que vous demandez aux Canadiens le statut officiel de parti?
Je demande que tout le monde qui croit dans les valeurs d'un système de santé publique et universel, tout le monde qui veut voir une augmentation de l'assurance médicaments, tout le monde qui pense que le Canada doit fonctionner pour la classe moyenne et la classe ouvrière, tout le monde qui pense comme ça, vote pour l'NPD. Votez pour nous. On est là pour défendre vos intérêts. On a montré ça. L'histoire de Jean montre ce qu'on a obtenu pour les gens. Le fait que notre présence au Parlement a donné une opportunité, une occasion de livrer les marchandises pour les gens. Donc, si vous voulez qu'on continue de faire ça, votez pour l'NPD.
Cecilia Huha, City News.
Hi, Mr. Singh. You have built your campaign on supporting the working class Canadian and seniors. Just wanted to get your reaction on some of the points Pierre Poilievre mentioned in his platform today. Cutting the lowest personal income tax rate and raising the tax-free income for us working class seniors by $10,000.
We propose tax cuts that help mostly middle class. His tax cuts, if you look at the expenses, one of his biggest expenditures is $19 billion in his budget, laid out very clearly. He's spending $19 billion, a massive amount of money, to give a tax cut to mostly millionaires. He's giving a tax cut to a very small number of Canadians, and most of them are millionaires. That's who he's mostly trying to help. If you look at how much help he's giving to them versus how much he's proposing for everyday Canadians. He's also, and this is an important point, he's laid out how much his measures would save. He's saying that his measures would save an average working Canadian about $2,000 a year. But he wants to cut childcare, which is $10,000 a year of savings. He wants to cut dental care, which is thousands of dollars of saving. He wants to cut medication coverage, which is also thousands of dollars. So he's going to give you $2,000 of savings and cut tens of thousands of dollars of benefits that you receive. That also does not add up. So Mr. Poilievre's plan is great for billionaires and millionaires. It's bad for working class people.
We only have 6 days until the election, and polls show that you are very well at risk of losing in your own riding, Burnaby South. So what do you want to say to the people who have voted for you in the past or have already voted for you in this election or are still on the fence to wait to vote on Monday?
Your vote matters, and you have a lot of power. Because Canadians voted for us, we were able to deliver. You know, people say we delivered for things that made people's lives better, and I'm honored that people say that, but really it's you. People who voted for us that gave us that opportunity to do all that. We wouldn't have been able to do that but for people's support, but for people's vote. And here in BC, British Columbians sent many New Democrats to Ottawa. It's because of you that we were able to bring in dental care and the first steps on pharmacare. It's because of your love, your support, and your vote. So you have the power to send us back to Ottawa. We've seen that people have rejected the Conservatives. Conservatives aren't going to win this. Now it's a question of, do you want one party to have all the power, or do you want New Democrats to be there to fight for you? And so for folks here in BC, you've got actually the power to make that decision. At the end of that night, at the end of election night, it'll be British Columbians who decide if Mark Carney gets a supermajority or if enough New Democrats are there to fight back and defend the things that you care about. And so I encourage British Columbians, use your power, send New Democrats to Ottawa, and we will fight for the things that you hold dear.
Nous allons maintenant passer à questions en ligne. Vous avez une question suivie d'une relance. So we'll now proceed with the online questioning with one question and a follow-up. We'll start with David Baxter, Global News. Canadian Press.
Good morning, Mr. Singh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Mr. Baxter.
Perfect. There we go. There we go. It's like I gotta get off the virtual soon. Be back on the trail with you guys in a couple days. So
okay, look forward to it.
Be there instead. But yeah, actual question. Just want to get to what you're just saying there. Saying once again that you're seeing the NDP as a way to prevent Mark Carney from having a super majority. What makes you think that this is a foregone conclusion that the Liberals are going to win on Monday?
Well, I think more and more Canadians are looking at Pierre Poilievre's plan and saying, not only does it not make any sense, but it's bad for me. Like his plan to cut the things that we need and we hold dear is bad. His plan to make Canada more like America, Canadians don't want that. Like he's used a lot of Trumpian slogans and these like simple solutions to really complex problems, and people are saying, no, that's not it. That's not actually going to fix what I'm going through. That's not actually going to solve the problems that I'm up against. He's responded in almost like a dismissive way to real serious problems that Canadians are dealing with. And so people are rejecting Conservatives. They're rejecting that approach. And people are now looking towards the Liberals. But when they look closely at Mark Carney, they say, wait a second, $28 billion in cuts to things I care about? Wait a second, he was the chair of a massive corporation that just months ago was profiting off of healthcare. I don't think he's going to be the guy that's going to defend our public universal healthcare. I don't think he's going to help keep it strong at a time when we're in a healthcare crisis and we need more investments, not cuts. And so those folks who are worried about Mr. Carney and worried about his plans as well, you can vote for New Democrats. You've got the power to send New Democrats to Ottawa and defend our public universal health care, to defend against cuts, to make life more affordable, to lower the cost of groceries, to build homes you can afford. Vote for New Democrats if you want those things.
Yeah, and before the campaign, we were seeing a lot of affordability challenges linked to immigration. Going through the NDP platform, I haven't been able to find much mention of NDP priorities on immigration there. So how would you work with, assumingly, the next Liberal government on changing immigration policy?
Well, I want to make one thing clear. While you might have heard Liberals and Conservatives blame immigrants for housing or other cost of living measures, we reject that. That is not the case. It's not immigrants who are to blame. It's Liberal and Conservative governments who are to blame, who didn't make housing a priority, who didn't invest to build homes that are affordable. And now that lack of investment and that ignoring of that problem, that negligence, has come back and has hurt us. So that's actually the problem we're up against. When it comes to immigration, we obviously need new Canadians and we need immigrants in our country. And the way we want to set that level is based on experts. We want an expert panel, those who can assess our labor market needs, because we, of course, need workers. We need to build those homes, and we need to build a lot of homes. So we're going to need workers to build those homes. We don't have enough workers in Canada without having new Canadians here. So let's set our immigration levels based on our needs, using experts that assess labor market needs and our capacity to welcome new Canadians. There are certain things that I want to see changed or ended entirely. The exploitation of temporary foreign workers that is so pernicious and prevalent is something that has to stop. It just drives down wages and exploits those workers. So that's a practice that I want to see ended. We see a lot of exploitation of international students. I want to see that ended. But when it comes to immigration in general, of course we need it. Let's set it based on our needs and based on expert advice on.
Next question, prochaine question. Natasha Belowski from the National Observer.
Hi, thank you for taking our questions.
Of course.
I'm just wondering, I'd like to hear from you about a complaint that the Green Party of Canada has made with the Commissioner of Canada Elections about the website progressive.ca. They say that this website that was designed to show people the best option in their riding to vote for to avoid electing a Conservative candidate is excluding election and voter data from previous elections that doesn't give the full picture. The example that they use is in an Lady Smith, for example, the website doesn't reflect that in 2021, a Green candidate, Paul Bailey, received about a quarter of the vote. And if you go down and check the website, it doesn't display that. So I'm just looking for your response, to the fact that the Green Party has made that complaint to the commissioner, and anything else you'd like to add to respond to, to the contents of that.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, there's a number of sites that are promoting kind of a strategic vote, and it's kind of questionable that it seems like the strategic vote is only one option all the time in those websites, and they only say it's the Liberal Party, which is clearly wrong. If you want to stop Conservatives in BC, we know New Democrats stop Conservatives. If you want to stop Conservatives here in Vancouver Kingsway, it's Don Davies that has beat Conservatives time and time again. On Vancouver Island, it's New Democrats who have beat Conservatives time and time again. So if you want to stop Conservatives, vote New Democrat. If you also want someone that's going to stop stop Liberals, like Mark Carney, from cutting the things that you need, vote New Democrat. We're the ones that are going to defend the health care that you believe in, the universal and public system that we hold so dear, and expand it. Mark Carney has already said he's not going to expand pharmacare. So if you care about expanding it, like we want to in the first year, to expand it to include essential medications, the Liberals aren't going to do that unless New Democrats are there to force them. So again and again, we've seen throughout our history, when New Democrats are strong, we deliver for people. So the more New Democrats you can send to Ottawa, the more we can fight for you.
Maybe we can follow up on this after, but the Green Party's main criticism seems to be that the results of this website that they say has been promoted by NDP staffers is actually pointing to NDP candidates as the best choice in ridings where that may not be the case. I don't have every single riding, but maybe we can touch base on this with your team after the press conference, but it often is not pointing to Conservatives, it's actually trying to point to the best options you can be Conservatives. And allegation is that your party has been promoting this website that is excluding other progressive options like the Greens.
I mean, I can tell you that on Vancouver Island, the way to beat conservatives is to vote New Democrat. That's just the facts of the matter. The way to beat conservatives across this country is to re-elect your New Democrat incumbent. That's just the way things are. That's just the facts. It's the facts in front of us. But more importantly, we have shown you, if you want to get things done in Parliament, it's New Democrats that deliver that change. It's New Democrats that force Liberals to deliver for you and your family. That has been the history of our country, and that was most recently what happened in the minority government. So if you want someone to fight for what you care about, vote for New Democrats.
Bonjour, Juliane Lapointe. Une petite dernière, elle sera facile.
Sure, oui.
On vient d'avoir les chiffres du vote par anticipation, puis c'est des chiffres records de 7,3 millions, je ne vais pas dire n'importe quoi, 7,3 millions d'électeurs qui ont voté par anticipation. La dernière fois, c'était 1,5 billion de plus que la dernière fois. Finalement, qu'est-ce que vous en pensez de ces chiffres-là en français et en anglais, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, bien sûr. Je suis encouragé que les gens veulent voter. C'est dans notre nom. La démocratie, c'est cher à notre parti. Donc, on veut voir plus de participation. Donc, le fait qu'on a eu un grand nombre de gens qui ont voté par anticipation, c'est excellent. J'encourage plus de gens de voter pour la date finale parce que plus de gens qui votent, ça veut dire plus de gens qui sont représentés dans le Parlement. Et utilisez votre vote. Vous avez des pouvoirs. Vous pouvez envoyer des néo-démocrates à Ottawa. Vous avez le pouvoir de défendre ce qui est cher à nous. Et pour faire ça, vous avez le pouvoir ici en Colombie-Britannique d'envoyer des néo-démocrates pour défendre notre soin de santé universel et public, pour accroître notre assurance médicaments, pour inclure les médicaments essentiels. Vous avez le pouvoir de faire tout ça. I think it's really exciting to see that more people are voting. It's in our name. We're a Democratic Party. We believe in people participating in democracy, so it's great to see. I want even more people to get out and vote, of course, on the final date of the election. And again, here in British Columbia, you've got the power to send New Democrats to Ottawa to fight for you. You have the power to determine whether Mark Carney will have all the power or whether there'll be New Democrats who are there, who are in strong numbers, to fight to defend what you care about.
Merci beaucoup. Ça termine la conférence de presse. This concludes our press conference.
Merci, thank you.